Hello, my name is Stephanie,
And my name is Alex.
and we are going to be talking about our learning journey through ECS 210. I believe that school curricula are developed by the government, teachers, and other support staff that combine their own experiences with the education and the world to help create curricula. For example, the government will say what needs to be incorporated, and then teachers and staff that specialize in that area will offer ideas and opinions that help create goals and outcomes for said curricula. I thought that school curricula was developed by the government. I feel that teachers, school board members, and maybe even parents might help out with creating an idea of what should be in the school curricula, but in the end, the government has the authority to decide what information is placed in it. School curricula are developed and implemented by the government or other sanctioned authorities for standard use in schools across a state, province, or country. Not only does the government implement it, but teachers, experts in certain areas, ministers of education, and school systems help to put a curriculum together. The curriculum is revised many times, and people must review graphs, data, and a lot more in order to create a curriculum. It is a framework and guideline of what to teach in school. Although there is the formal curriculum, we also learn many other forms of curriculum, such as hidden curriculum, things that are learned but not openly intended, such as norms, beliefs, and values. Null curriculum, what is not taught. Curriculum is literacy, things such as single stories. Curriculum is citizenship, 3 kinds: personally responsible citizen, participatory citizen, justice-oriented citizen. Curriculum is numeracy, many ways to learn math, not just one. Leroy Littlebear and Poirier's stories about different ways to do math that are not considered the norm. As well, there is curriculum as place, product, process, and praxis. Curriculum is important, but not set in stone. Teachers have the opportunity to be creative and go beyond what is wanted to meet the outcomes provided. When approaching the curriculum, we will begin by understanding the outcomes, and then we will formulate a plan for teaching. We believe that our main role is to facilitate our teaching and get our students to the desired outcomes, determining who may need extra help and who has already achieved certain outcomes. Kumashiro's definition of common sense is that common sense can be different in many places. There are many examples Kumashiro gave comparing common sense of American school practices and common sense of Nepal school practices. School practices that are different from commonsensical ideas are often found to be biased, a distraction, inappropriate, or nonsensical. Many of the Nepal students and teachers found these different school practices that were commonsensical ideas to be exactly that: biased, a distraction, inappropriate, or nonsensical. I think that it is important to pay attention to the common sense, because what may be common sense to you will not be common sense to others. For Kumashiro, he had realized that the traditional American ways of teaching were not the only ways of teaching, and the Nepal people need to realize the government textbooks are not the only means of learning either. Common sense is the different things that are second nature to you. This means that common sense is different for many people, and common sense differs around the world. Depending on where you live, what you believe in, what you learn, and many more things helps to build your common sense. Things that may not be common sense to you may be common sense to others. We don't question the norms of our common sense, but Kumashiro talks about how common sense creates the routines of schools and how children are taught, as well as how they learn. As future teachers, we need to be aware of common sense and challenge it. A good student is someone who is punctual, middle class, sits quietly, engaged, dresses appropriately, follows instructions, and so much more. I think that these common sense ideas make it impossible for students that cannot work in a traditional classroom. There are many different ways to learn, and there should not be a biased opinion for a good student. Even if you do not fall under the criteria of being punctual, engaged, or other, I still think there are good students. Children should be allowed freedom to learn in a way which best suits them in order for them to seek their best knowledge. If a student cannot learn in a way that helps them better in their learning, they will not express their knowledge to their full potential and be considered a bad student. A classroom should provide learning for every student's needs, even if it isn't the easy way of teaching. Just because a student cannot learn in a traditional classroom or doesn't follow all of the rules does not mean that they are a bad student. It is important to understand where our students are coming from and try to provide teaching that fits their needs. I felt cognitive dissonance during week 7 when Claire Kruger came to speak to us about curriculum and treaty education. Claire started off by addressing the treaty territory we were on, including the first settlers. I instantly was in shock as she seemed to make it seem so easy. I felt as if she knew everything about treaty education as the presentation continued. Claire calmed my nerves when she shared that she has made numerous mistakes over time and that she still has so much to learn. I found that treaty education is a touchy subject, but that it must be taught within the classroom, otherwise students will not have the chance to learn it. When addressing question 1 for my blog post for this week, I said that I believe the purpose of teaching treaty ed, specifically in Regina, Saskatchewan, Treaty 4 land, is to gain a better understanding of our country and land's history so we become more aware and knowledgeable of the truth to our history. I also feel as if we as treaty peoples should know about treaty education as it is our home. Learning about First Nations, Métis, and Inuit content is also important as they were first to settle on this land and they agreed to share the land with us. It is important that teachers and learners become aware of the past and learn about who they are as treaty people. When responding to question 2, I said, from my experience and understanding, we are all treaty people is just like saying I am Canadian. It is a fact about me and it is a fact about many others who may know it or not. Personally, I have gained knowledge over the years and have been told multiple times that I am a treaty person, so I have formed my identity to include that. However, I feel as if I was one of a few to learn this young. I believe it should be known by all that we are all treaty people. By telling students at a young age and explaining to them why they are treaty people, they can include it in their identity. We are all treaty people, whether we know it or not. It's time to incorporate treaty education into the classroom so everyone knows who they are. I felt uncomfortable when doing a lesson plan on treaty education, not because of the content, but I was afraid I would make a mistake. I have not learned much about treaty education, and I was scared I would write the wrong thing down in my teachings. These mistakes will help me grow into a better teacher, and I will be able to understand and learn through my mistakes. As a future educator, I will be making mistakes, but these mistakes will help me into becoming a better teacher. I strongly believe that no matter if there are few or no First Nations, Métis, or Inuit people in the classroom, you should still be teaching Treaty Ed, or FNMI, content and perspectives. Treaties and First Nations, Métis, or Inuit content and perspectives are a major part of Canada's, especially Saskatchewan's, history. In Regina, we are living on Treaty 4 land. Students should be learning about treaties and understanding the land they are living on, especially since we are all treaty people. As the quote Claire stated says, "For as long as the sun shines, the grass grows, and the river flows, we are all treaty people." I also felt uncomfortable when learning about the good student, because the good student is usually one that teachers favor over. Children should be allowed freedom to learn in a way which best suits them in order for them to seek their best knowledge. If a student cannot learn in a way that helps them better in their learning, they will not express their knowledge to their full potential and be considered a bad student. A classroom should provide learning for every student's needs, even if it isn't the easy way of teaching. Just because a student cannot learn in a traditional classroom or doesn't follow all of the rules does not mean that they are a bad student. It is important to understand where our students are coming from and try to provide teachings that fit their needs. This ECS 210 place has shaped me into becoming a more anti-biased teacher. It has changed my thoughts on single stories and has made me realize that there are multiple ways of learning. As our one blog post was about curriculum as numeracy, I learned that there are multiple ways to learn math. This makes me stop and think about the refugees and other students who are coming into my classroom from all over the world. These children may have possibly learned a different way to learn a certain subject and will need myself to provide them in learning how we understand and learn subjects in Saskatchewan. As well, learning about single stories, I realized that there may be students sharing single stories, but now that I know about single stories, I can teach children multiple parts of one story from multiple views. For example, I can read multiple books that have a different view on one story. I have felt uncomfortable in some ECS 210 places because I felt as if I was so unaware of a lot of things that I should know as a future educator. Now that I have taken this class though, I feel that I have a better understanding on certain topics and feel that everything I have learned this year will help me in becoming a teacher. This class has allowed us to realize many important parts of becoming an educator. Our educational philosophies have changed through our learnings, and we both feel that we have more knowledge and understanding on curriculum, treaty education, common sense, and so much more.